serve. Also, the work that you do in the community is well known, and I also want to let you know that you touch a lot of people also through your social media that you don't even know. So we're in the Gill household. We're followers of you on on your social media feeds, and we always check in to see what you're up to and what you're doing. So thank you for that as well, and for your willingness to continue to serve our county and our community.
Thank you, sir. It's a true honor, and I genuinely really love you all, and I pray for my community all the time. So thank you so much.
Thank you. The motion for resolution number 6 from Freeholder Siebold and a second from Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado, absent. Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And Pastor, can you please pray for Mrs. Gill to put up with all the hours that the freeholder president isn't home?
I sure will. We're in the same boat.
So it's great. It's great that he's looking at your website, but if you could pray for would help out on her side of the ledger.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think they're gonna. Based on the last 3 months, I don't think you're gonna have too much pushback to get me out of the house.
That's true.
We'll move on. Our seventh nominee is an expert in the medical field, and will be coming to the task force to present some really impressive credentials. Probably the most impressive is the undergraduate degree, which I can have some interest in myself. Congratulations. She is really just a wonderful representative in the medical field, and I think is going to really bring some incredible insight and expertise to the task force. So our next nominee is Dr. Chris Cornell. You're on, Doctor.
Yes, just unmuting myself. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, freeholders. It is with immense and deep pleasure that I accept this nomination in a sense of gratitude. I am a public health and preventive medicine physician, and I consider myself being a believer and apostle of public health. Public health is a mission-driven field within healthcare, and in particular, I am a health equity doc. So I focus on how injustices, how inequities have further marginalized, disenfranchised, and dehumanized communities, in particular Black and Brown communities. So wherever there is work where I can lend my skill set, my knowledge base to help perpetuate justice, to help perpetuate anti-racism, I am more than game to do that. And I have a special affinity for the incarcerated population. Soon after I made the decision not to continue my training to become a brain surgeon and left that clinical world, one of the first places I went to affirm myself was at Essex County Juvenile Detention Center, and just to learn from those who have come up by hard circumstances, and to say, how can you help fragmented souls become whole again, and do it through health and well-being and population health. So this topic has stayed near and dear to my heart, and the opportunity to offer insights and advocacy around systems, how systems are designed, how to improve systems so that there are not let's say, defined winners and losers, but that each person has equal access to have their human rights protected and availed. I'm more than willing to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pell. Freeholders, questions or comments?
Through you, Mr. President.
Freeholder Johnson.
Chris Purnell, I've known you for quite some time. You're a great activist also. But, you know, in reading your resume and background, I got tired of reading. You got so much stuff going on. But it is a pleasure to have you. And my mentee, who I mentored for many years, Dupre Kelly, always speaks about the work that he's been doing and y'all been doing over there with y'all way. So it is definitely a pleasure to have you on this board, especially with this extensive background that you have in the medical field. Because as you know, in our Black and brown communities,
Yes.
the mental health part of it is the most essential part of it. And I know you can help those that are incarcerated to get them back on track. So thank you very much for raising your hand, as our president says, to take on this Herculean task.
Thank you, Freeholder. I appreciate it.
For you, Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. President.
I too want to commend Dr. Purnell for not just for her evolution and how she continues to evolve. I met her about 10 years ago. She was running for office. Started that didn't work out, but she never gave up. She just stayed vigilant, kept, you know, doing what she needed to do, moving the ball, moving the pendulum, staying involved, and look at you now. You are a shining star and have been for quite some time in our community. So we are very fortunate to have you on this task force. And you also do something at University Hospital now as well. Yeah, so you're always busy. Yeah. Always busy, always representing, and you're just, like I said, just a shining star. Happy to have you. We couldn't have picked a better person. Thank you.
Truly, truly grateful. Thankful for your words.
And at some point, through the Freeholder president, at some point, Chris, I'd love for you to share with the freeholders, maybe at a later point, what you're doing with women who are formerly incarcerated and how you're really breaking the paradigm and focusing upon their unique changes, because it's a population that's so frequently overlooked in correctional settings. So thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
I have to look forward to hearing more on that. Additional questions or comments? Again, thank you, Dr. Purnell, for serve. And I think Freeholder Johnson touched on it. But so many of the issues that I think this committee will have to deal with revolve in some way or another around issues of public health. So your expertise in so many different fields, whether it's behavioral, whether it's your work in the community, whether it's your background, you know, as a doctor, is going to be much needed, and look forward to that contribution for sure. So, you know, so thank you for your willingness to do it, because clearly, if you look at your resume, I don't think you didn't necessarily need one more thing to do for sure. So, but we're grateful that you're willing to take on this among the many things and many roles that you play in our county, in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder President.
Thank you. We have a motion from Freeholder Cooper and a second from Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo,
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares. Freeholder Ricardo is absent. Freeholder Luciano,
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson,
Yes.
Freeholder Graham,
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper,
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
our final nominee is coming into the task force as a member of the public, and that is, I think, putting her credentials and qualifications quite lightly. She too has a wonderful undergraduate education and also speaks 5 languages, which is incredibly impressive to me. But her background on this issue and dedication and her training will make her a wonderful addition to the task force. Our final nominee is Alexandra de Blasio. Ms. de Blasio, you're up.
Thank you so much. First of all, it's I've had the privilege of being number 8, so I got to hear everybody before me, and it's truly a great group of people. I am honored to be included among them. I look forward to the task force, to listening, to learning a tremendous amount from fellows on the task force as well as the community, and then doing all the extra research that needs to be done. I know Governor McGreevey is very interested in that. And no, I'm just very grateful and look forward tremendously to learning and then to offering any thoughts that I have towards.
Alessandra, for the benefit of the Freeholder Director and Freeholder President and the Freeholders, could you talk a little bit about your experience with your father and his legal career? No, but and some of the work that you've done in this space.
Sure. So yeah, I started out, well, since I was born, being cross-examined. So my father was one of the greatest trial attorneys in New York, but I think in the United States. And so I spent my youth being questioned about my every move. But then when I was in college and law school, I spent time working with him. And his practice was mostly personal injury, so dealing with plaintiffs, with individuals who were injured. And from him, I sat in on witness interviews and trials. And then I decided not to join him at all in his practice of law. I went on to become a federal prosecutor, but that was a step so that I could become who I now am, which is a federal defense attorney. So I've had about 25 years of involvement in the federal criminal justice system. I had several immigration clients and have tried to touch on as many different aspects of the law as I can. And so that's my father and what I learned from him. My mother was fabulous too. She was a painter artist.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Blasio. Freeholders, questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. President, this is Freeholder Cooper. I just wanted to commend and thank everyone who stepped up to serve on this very important board. You all come with a very diverse background that will complement one another and to ultimately help us in the administration achieve our goal of why we created this task force to begin with. Also wanted to commend the administration who moved really swiftly looking through all those candidates, and I think you vetted a really good group of people to help move our agenda forward. Phil and Mr. Jackson, good job. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. President, I want to echo what my colleague, Freeholder Cooper, just stated. We have a broad mix of folks, and the talent pool that we have on this task force is incredible. And remember, you guys this is historic. We're doing this without a consent decree. We're doing it on our own. Essex County is first. This is a historical event. Your names will be in the annals of the county forever. You're the first on this task force. And I'm sure each and every one of you will make us proud. So thank you again for serving, stepping up to the plate. We really, really appreciate each and every one of you.
Mr. President, may I add?
Sure, Freeholder Siebel.
Before we vote on the last one, I would like to express my gratitude to our county executive, Joe DiVincenzo, and every other person who worked with him to create this magnificent task force. And since we are first in the country, first in the state, I am really, really proud that the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is making history tonight. And as Freeholder Vice President Wayne Richardson said, we will go down in history, and I am really proud to be part of that fact. Thank you. And thank you to all the people who are willing to serve on this advisory board.
Through you, Mr. President, I just want to say thank you to one other person, who very rarely gets any accolades, but she does a lot of the work behind the scenes. She does all the legal stuff. She puts it together. She makes sure no one gets in trouble, and that's Courtney Gassion. I want to thank you for all that you do. Sometimes you may not think we appreciate it, but we do appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Freeholder. I appreciate that.
And Mr. President, can I just say one concluding remark?
Sure, Governor.
Thanks. By the way, Freeholder Richardson, Courtney's also a pain in the neck, but I'm not saying anything. But I'm kidding. But also, I just want to underscore to the judge how valuable he has been in this whole process, and unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. But then, in addition, it's the Freeholder President. I just want to thank all the freeholders that have been so supportive. I really want to say thank you to everybody who's going to be on this task force, but everybody who submitted their names. As Freeholder Cooper said, I mean, this is really diverse. There's actually disagreement because the names were so good and so robust. So we just ask everybody who's applied to stick with us. And then I'd also like to thank not only the county executive, to Joe, and particularly the chief of staff, but Wayne, I also have got to say thank you to Asmaret, because teaching me how to do a Zoom call was a major work of art. But seriously, this is going to be tremendous. I think we're doing something that, and I shared with both our Freeholder President, as I shared with Brendan, as I shared with Phil, that no one's done this in the state of New Jersey. And so on so many issues, in terms of medical protocol, in terms of how we practice and how we provide for whether something as simple as medication assisted treatment, hepatitis, on so many different issues, I believe we're going to be breaking ground. So in terms of the legislative body and the leadership, our county executive, the chief, all of us, and all of the citizens who sincerely want us to do better, both on the I side and, as the Freeholder said earlier, in terms of the correctional side of the two houses. This is a shared goal to produce centers of excellence. And last thing, I just also want to say thank you, and the Freeholder President knows this, to Phil, who brought, like Rosa knows, all the advocates. Every week we share a call Thursday at 4 o'clock. I think it's the only correctional center I know of the state that does that. We put everything out on the table. We're honest, we're open, what we're succeeding with, what we're not. But by that level of transparency, God willing, we can get to be better, so that we treat all those individuals within our jurisdiction humanely and with decency. So I just want to say thank you, Mr. President. I think we're about to start something really exciting, and I think it's going to set a standard throughout the rest of the state. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Governor. Then again, before we move on, Freeholders, is there any additional questions or comments? Then I'll wrap it up with a few comments, and then we'll move on our final nominee. But I think, Governor, you actually touched on many of the points that I wanted to make. First and foremost, when this ordinance or this legislation, it's important to note that I think that we work very closely together in Essex County, but the Freeholders is a separate independent body of government, and sometimes the administration and the Freeholder Board, we agree most of the time, and sometimes we don't, and that's fine, and I think that's healthy. But I do want to thank the administration for their openness to when I brought this to them. In response to some issues that we were hearing out there in the community, and they have been a partner on this for some time, and helped shape it, helped contribute to it, and I thank them for their work on it. As a legislator, this is almost as far as I can take this process. You try to craft the legislation the best that you can. And then when that legislation is then put into the real world, so to speak, you hope it achieves the goal that it was set out to achieve. Although I respect every single person that has been nominated, consider them to be many good friends, I'm expecting that the work of this committee is not going to be easy. The work of this committee is going to be challenging. And it should be. I expect this committee to be challenging our county government as an entity, to improve, to do better, and to make sure that we have done everything we can to treat all of the detainees in our facility with the dignity and respect that they deserve. And that's not saying that we're not doing that right now, but it's saying that I still think we have additional work to do. So my hope is that this committee will take those issues on, consider those issues to be very serious, and hopefully we'll be hearing from you in some form on some things that are going to challenge us. My hope is not to create this committee and then to hear that everything's going great, to be quite frank. Thank you. That this is when I stress the word independent, and in response to some of the issues that have been raised. So I, again, at the same time, want to thank Phil, want to thank the administration, Courtney, for your work on this, understanding that they have to balance a series of issues as the administration, but at the same time, we're creating an independent board, and I think they should be and should be commended for supporting that process and supporting the freeholders, not just me, but the freeholders who worked on this, Vice President Richardson, Freeholder Johnson, who put time and energy into creating this, Freeholder Pomaris and Mercado and their roles. So this really, for me, is the way that government is supposed to work, where you have lots of different people with lots of different opinions trying to get to the same goal. And I think we produced a really good ordinance, a really good piece of legislation. And that legislation, I think, has produced some really fine candidates to serve in the roles that we've created, who will hopefully do some really impactful work, to change the betterment of our county and of our community. So I look forward to hearing you in the future, and want you to know, Governor, and all the members of the board, that that as long as I have the honor to serve as the president of the board, I'm committed to this independent task force operating, and will provide whatever you need in order for it to operate successfully and efficiently, as we move forward.
And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come and to be present. So thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Mr. President, before you go on,
yes.
Phil Elijah, the Chief of Staff, is online. I think we should hear some from him, because he spent countless hours helping put this together also.
I never known Phil to be shy, but I think we should hear from him.
Phil? What happened?
Looks like he's behind the shower door.
Yeah, another call maybe?
I think that's right. I think he is.
Another call.
He's at another call. Okay. Gotcha. Well, I think I thank you for that, Freeholder Johnson, and I really, it was mentioned, but sometimes, as I said, when you look at state government and you look at our federal government, sometimes I wish those governments could operate the way we do here in Essex County. So folks agree sometimes, sometimes they don't, but we usually get to a good place, and I think that we've done that today. So, and we could have not have done it without Courtney and Phil's help. So Courtney, thank you as well. We have a nomination from Freeholder Graham and a second from Freeholder Johnson to close out our final nominee. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado, absent. Freeholder Pomares,
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson,
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo,
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved. Mr.
Thank you.
President, can I make a little housekeeping announcement?
Sure.
I'm going to ask all of our nominees or now members of the board and anyone else that has been on for these resolutions. We need the real estate for other people to join us. So if you would be kind enough to log off, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We've been thrown out of bed at Gin Mills. God bless.
Thanks, Governor. Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. God bless.
Okay. While we're doing that, Madam Clerk, let's move to resolution number 52, which is our ICE resolution. I think we have spoken to that, so we're going to move to 52. Freeholders, any questions or comments on resolution number 52?
Yes, I have some comments, Mr. President.
Excuse me, Mr. President, are we going to read this into the record at another time?
Yeah, I'm sorry, we can read it to the record at a later time. Thank you.
Okay.
I would just like to speak to the resolution. I'm very happy to be part of this resolution that is on the agenda for tonight. I know I had comments at the last meeting about some of the language in the resolution, and I'd like to thank our attorney, Michael Parlavecchio, for working so hard on this resolution to correct much of the language. And now the resolution reads exactly the way I wish that it would read right from the beginning. So I'm very, very happy and very pleased to be part of the sponsor of this resolution tonight. And I'd like to thank everybody who contributed to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Freeholder Siebel. Freeholders, additional questions or comments?
Yes, through you, Mr. President. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to put on the record my support for this resolution. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I too join my colleagues in supporting this resolution. Even though these individuals are detained, we have a responsibility to ensure their health and safety, especially those who do not pose a threat to the community. We're also trying to do all we can to slow down the spread of this deadly virus. And we believe this action is just one small thing that we as freeholders and legislators can do to help. So I definitely support this wholeheartedly, and thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Richardson. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Just wanted to also say, we heard quite a bit of public testimony on this, and I want to be very clear that Freeholder Siebold's both comments and contributions have helped make this a better resolution. And some of the things that were read into public comment, Freeholder Siebold, we know what your intention was. You did not say anything like that, in my opinion, that would even have suggested that. And I want to thank you, for your work, because I think it made it a better resolution. So thank you, Freeholder Siebold.
And thank you, Mr. President, for your support. I really appreciate it. I think much of what has been said referring to me was totally incorrect. I just wanted to see a more precise and better resolution, and that is just what we have now. So thank you very much for your support.
100%.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I have a statement from Freeholder Mercado, who would like it read into the record. May I read it into the record at this time?
Sure.
The statement is from Freeholder Mercado. Good afternoon. Unfortunately, I am unable to participate in today's meeting due to previous obligations. Although I am not present to vote on Resolution 52, which demands that the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, promptly grant the release of all detainees currently detained due solely to their immigration status. I feel compelled to state for the record that I am in support of this resolution. We are in unprecedented times due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and any measure that can assist in significantly slowing the spread of the virus while saving lives must be considered. Releasing the detainees held solely because of their immigration status will not pose an imminent threat to the community. Conversely, it will be beneficial for their health, the health of the staff and other prisoners, and the health of our communities throughout the area. Therefore, I support the resolution. Additionally, I'm in full support of the passage of resolutions 1 through 8, which will complete the process of appointing the initial 8 members to the Essex County Correctional Facility, a civilian task force. The board, the administration, and local advocacy groups have worked tirelessly to put the task force together. I am happy and supportive of the nominees, and I offer my well wishes going forward. Thank you, Freeholder Mercado.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Freeholders, any additional questions or comments?
Mr. President, Carlos Parzer, may I make comments?
Sure, of course.
Thank you. I want to appreciate my colleagues for giving a little bit more time to review. We didn't have a lot of time the last time to review this in advance of the meeting. I'd like to be, if it's not done by acclamation, I'd like to be included as a sponsor as well on this resolution.
Oh, no issue including Freeholder Palmares as a sponsor.
Acknowledged, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure, Freeholder Siebel.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge Chief of Staff Phil Elijah for giving me so much information and helping with in terms of the statistics at the jail, because that was really helpful in creating better language for the resolution. And he was really excellent at what he did. Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholders, any additional questions or comments? I'm actually going to move this resolution and have second from Vice President Richardson. A roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Present, not voting.
Freeholder Mercado, absent. Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're actually going to take resolution number 53, which is another freeholder resolution, Freeholder Johnson.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
You have to unmute, sir.
Sorry.
We can read that. It's sorry, Freeholder Johnson, it's a resolution for social justice. Freeholder Johnson.
Through you, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak to this resolution. And I would also like to thank you and Vice President Richardson for your support in co-sponsoring the resolution. As you know, it is actually a tragedy and a shame in this day and age that a need for this type of resolution is even necessary. But as the old saying goes, the more things change, the more they stay the same. However, it is time out for this to be normal or someone else's problem. In a short window of time, we had just heard about the murders of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. Then the world watched in horror the abuse and murder of Mr. George Floyd at the hands of those who are there to serve and protect. It was a moment of reckoning for the masses, a realization that this type of abuse can no longer be tolerated anywhere. And the perpetrators of this act and the countless other acts like them, many we don't even hear about, targeting Black and brown people must stop, and more importantly, must be atoned. I know personally for me, as a Black man, my heart hurts because just like me, George Floyd was a father. Just like me, George Floyd was a brother. Just like me, George Floyd was a friend, a person, a human. Reverend Al Sharpton put it so eloquently during the eulogy of George Floyd. This is a new season. We have had enough of police abuse. It is time to change the system of justice, even when our commander-in-chief helps to fuel the negative. But as we all know, 95% of the law enforcement officers in our towns throughout our cities, counties, state, and the country are good quality officers. It's that 5% that is giving them a reputation that we must work with to help get there. We need these officers, the 95%, to not be afraid that if they see something, to say something. So today, I am sponsoring this resolution along with the President, Gill, Vice President Richardson, and I am pushing the agenda forward that change starts in our own community. It starts by promoting sensitivity in our practices here in Essex County. It is amazing how the entire country and the world has responded to this atrocity. And the community needs to know the legislators here join them with our voice as well. I have been so proud of our residents, young and old, who have organized peaceful protests and rallies, and the beauty of the diversity of our collective races of people, binding together in solidarity, understanding that Black lives matter. This resolution is just the beginning. In summary, we are committed to social justice and will focus on how we can deliver on the promise of good and fair public safety protection to all. So thank you again, Mr. President.
Thank you, Freeholder Johnson. Thank you.
Mr. President?
I see Freeholder Siegel. Just before Freeholder Siegel, before I turn the floor to you, I just wanted to see if if Vice President Richardson the other sponsor wanted to make remarks, and then I'll turn the floor to Freeholder Siegel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, I join my colleague, Freeholder Johnson, and yourself in co-sponsoring this resolution for social justice, and more importantly, for social change. I agree with Freeholder Johnson and all that he has said. I also agree with all that this resolution addresses and suggests. It is unfortunate that it takes a tragedy to evoke change. I fight daily for the rights of my union members, so I know how resistant people are to change, especially when it means the conversation gets a little uncomfortable or the soul searching gets a little uncomfortable. When privilege is put into perspective, sometimes it is difficult to accept the truth so that one's silence is part of the problem. I do not know every system has a breaking point, and just like the notorious knee on the neck, the knee that oppresses us, the knee that denies us entry, the knee that ignores us, the knee that abuses us, there comes a time when that pressure doesn't allow us to breathe, and it needs to get lifted. We have seen this all throughout history with many movements, but just like Freeholder Johnson, this one hits close to home, and I agree, for humanity's sake, and in the memory of all of the nameless, faceless, Black and brown people over the last 400 years that we have lost. This acknowledgement and gesture to pass this resolution, to support this movement, is the very least that we can do. As leaders, it is our responsibility to uphold public safety for all. It is easy to put flowery words on paper, but we have to back them up with action. In our nation's streets across the world, and in many other countries, we're hearing a cry in the conscience of the people. On our behalf, and I join them in saying, no justice, no peace. Thank you again for this time and opportunity to co-sponsor this resolution.
Thank you. Freeholder Siebel.
Thank you very much. I have spent my whole life working for social justice. I can't even tell you how many times I marched in Washington on social justice issues. My 10-year-old granddaughter marched in Brooklyn yesterday for Black Lives Matter. I would very much like to be part of this resolution, and perhaps everyone will join and we can have this resolution by acclamation, because it is the right resolution and we all should join in. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Siebel.
Mr. President?
Sure. Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolutions 52 and 53 are important resolutions for our body to author and to approve, because they both speak to injustices that unfortunately happen in our country far too much. It is our job as leaders to stand up and speak out when things are not being done the correct way, and especially when it disenfranchise and affect a group of persons solely because of the color of their skin. For too long, a lot of these issues have existed, and I stand with you and the rest of the board to say enough is enough. I support resolution 52 and 53 because of that. We have to end ICE, and we have to end the treatment of people in our country simply because of the way that they look. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Cooper. Freeholder, additional questions or comments? Refer to Freeholder Johnson and Vice President Richardson on whether they would, whether we can do this by acclamation.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure, absolutely. Hearing or seeing none, we'll have a motion from Freeholder Johnson and a second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Okay, Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Freeholder Johnson and Vice President Richardson, for that resolution. Thank you. Moving to resolutions number 9 through 15, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Items 9 through 15 deal with the receipt and disbursement of community service block grant dollars. And Mr. Terrence McCoy is with us to do that.
Good evening, freeholders. This is Terrence McCoy, and I'm with the Division of Community Action. I'm coming before you to get grant approval to amend our grant dollars from the Community Service Block Grant for continued services to our low-income constituents throughout Essex County. These funds are going to be on top of the current grant that we have already that you approved back in April of 2020 for the amount of $794,259. And we are allocating funds to the 3 CAP agencies that provide those services to the community.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
I don't have any questions or comments on this one.
Mr. McInerney?
Mr. President, I don't have any questions on this one.
Okay, freeholders, questions or comments?
Mr. President?
Yes, I'm sorry, Freeholder Johnson.
Yes. As we all know, with this pandemic here, and a lot of people losing their jobs, and they can't afford to live their normal life, and with the normal things that we had in place are not going to be enough by the end of the year. And I'm glad that we are moving more monies into these departments because of the fact that we're going to have an overabundance of people applying for these monies, especially coming into 2021. 2021 is when we're going to really feel the effect of this pandemic. So I'm glad that we're moving forward with at least arming them with a little more, because we're going to need more than that coming into 2021. So thank you.
Thank you. Phil, any additional questions or comments on resolution number 9? If not, we'll move to resolution number 10. We'll read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson?
Again, Mr. McCoy is here, and Mr. President, just so we're aware, item 9 is the insertion of the dollars, and item 10 through 12 are disbursement to the agency. But Mr. McCoy is here to go through that one.
I see. Those are the. I apologize. Those are the individual. Those are the individual amounts to the. Got it. Do we have any questions, freeholders? I'm assuming Mr. Parlavecchio or Mr. McInerney, no further questions on 10, 11, and 12?
That's correct.
No, it's the sub-grant agreements that flow from the revenue.
Okay. Freeholders, do we have any additional questions on the sub-grant agreements? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move to resolution number 13, which we can read into the record at a later time.
Okay, 13. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay, resolution 13, 14, and 15 are sub-grantee contracts for COVID-19 stimulus funds that we received from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs to provide said emergency services relief for the stress that our constituents are going through that were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. We are looking to help all of our constituents throughout Essex County with homeless prevention services for rental assistance, utility, food, and housing counseling. This is just the first round of money that we are receiving from the state, and we are going to receive more money to help them throughout the 2021 period.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
Mr. President, these items are part of the schedule that I've been keeping, that I was requested to do so with regard to COVID-19 expenditures. All 3 of these items are included in the $497,209 number. In addition, that's part of a larger grant for $1,420,599, which is yet to be received by the county. There is approximately $100,000 that's included in that amount that goes to administrative expenses to reimburse the county.
Okay. these were included in the running list or in the list that was sent to the board.
There were a couple lists that I sent to you, Mr. President, first. One was just recently to this afternoon. But there is the $30 million that goes to municipality COVID-19 expenditures, which are separate and distinct from the amount of the county COVID-19 expenditures, which the county's expending, which is a separate schedule. And then we have these federal and state grants that are coming into the county as well. These federal and state grants are what we're seeing on the agenda now with regard to, this would be item number 11, 12, and 13, I'm sorry, 12, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So these are separate and distinct. The objective of these is within the grant documents. But again, there's and that's why I guess the schedules are going to have some meeting at some point in time, because there's various buckets of money coming into the county. Again, the monies that came into the county from the federal government, that 20%, we just allocated $30 million to the municipalities. And then the county's been expending money on COVID-19 expenditures through the reserve account that we set up, and those are being reimbursed right now. At this point, the county's expended in excess of $5 million, and I sent over a expenditure listing by department with regard to those expenditures. And once again, separate state and federal grants that are coming in, labeled COVID-19 grants that will help on the county more or less in pass-throughs to these not-for-profit agencies that provide the kind of necessary services that those grants are designed to pay for.
Okay. What were the amounts in terms of the 30 million that we had allocated for direct reimbursement to the municipalities? So we distributed money to that. Process has already started. So what are the amounts out of that bucket that have already been distributed, and to who?
I believe there's a list, Mr. President, that I did send over this afternoon to you just before the meeting that has that level of detail. I can access it here if you want me to, but there's a list of every municipality, what they have been reimbursed for at this point in time. So
I can go through that list if you want, Mr. President.
I'm sorry?
Please.
I can go through that list if you want. So far, as you know, we allocated $30 million. So far, paid or approved for payment, $332,000 to the Township of Belleville, $1.6 million to the Township of Bloomfield, City of East Orange, $22,000, Milburn, $111,000, Newark, which is still pending on that. I think we actually did the check today. $1,587,000, Nutley $109,000, and Verona $320,000.
If I could add, if you could confirm, Mr. Jackson, and it's my understanding that Bloomfield and Verona has already gotten the maximum reimbursement at this point in time that they were allocated.
Correct. Verona's a few dollars shy, but Bloomfield's already up to max.
Okay, thank you.
When we say the max, that was our max. That was the number that we broke the 30 million up by.
Correct. Yes.
But we're gonna. I mean, I'm assuming, Mr. Jackson, that they're gonna continue and to evaluate that number, because I mean, I know we used a formula, but it's still a moving target.
I'm not sure what you mean by moving target.
Meaning that the number is arbitrary. We developed this. We developed we developed the metric as to how much out of the 30 million Cedar Grove would be eligible for versus Bloomfield would be eligible for versus Montclair. I'm not questioning. I think it was a sound plan, but I just want to say, when we say the cap, like we set that cap ourselves.
Right, we set a 20% cap, and then allocated that according to the metrics that you mentioned. And of course, it's up for reevaluation as we go through and see how dollars get correct.
I mean, I'm happy with the 130 whatever thousand illegal contracts.
I don't know who's speaking right now. We have caller 19, caller 7, both who are not on mute. I don't know if they're trying to speak on the record and who it is. Yeah, if you could put your phone on mute if you're not. Could you repeat that, Mr. Jackson? I couldn't hear the answer at all.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, because what we did was we assigned about 20% of the total to distribute to the municipalities, which was the 30 million. And then we allocated that by the metric that you discussed earlier. Each town has a certain allocation. As Mr. McInerney alluded to earlier, essentially Verona and Bloomfield have already used up their allocation. So in total, we have spent about or issued checks in the amount of $4 million of the $30 million that we have allocated, and we'll continue to evaluate that through the efforts of Mr. Avaleo and Kim Beraldo. The government services firm will continue to keep an eye on that and see where it goes, but that's where we are today. So of the $30 million, $4 million in checks have already been issued.
Okay. And just the process, we're actually hand delivering those checks to the municipalities?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, that's good. It's glad that we're getting, so folks are getting their information in and that process is working. That's great.
Yes, it's working. And kudos to Anthony Apaleo and Kim Brown-Feraldo. They're doing a great job and also to Assam, our CFO, for getting the reviewing the requests, getting them done quickly, and then get the checks out. I can say that no county that I know of is getting out the dollars as quickly and put the process in place as quickly as we have in the towns. So we really appreciate it to the board and to the administration for getting them these much needed dollars.
Thank you. Any additional questions, freeholders? Okay, we have taking resolutions number 9 through 15. We have a motion from Freeholder Johnson and a second from Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado, absent Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, let's move to resolutions number 16 through 18. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Jackson, unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. Director Brown, from our Director of Senior Services, Division of Senior Services, is here to address these 3 items. Mr. Brown, are you there? Yeah, maybe, I mean, but just in case, I'll just. He's on the, no, we can't hear him. We'll give it another few seconds, Mr. President, and then I'll go through it.
Hello?
There he is.
Hello?
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Mr. President and fellow freeholders. How are you? Number 16 is basically an approval of our 2020 Senior Service Area Plan, which was actually, the insertion was made back in January of this year. This just shows that we sent our report in and that everything was approved and we'll be getting reimbursed for that money that was spent, awarded, and this is 50% of the award. That's all 16 is stated.
You keep going through each one, Mr. Brown.
All right, 17. 17 is $4,750 that we annually receive from the state of New Jersey for our seniors farmers market nutrition program. And basically, in the past, this money has been used for supplies, the nutritionists, etc., for our farmers market. However, this year, there may be, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a change in how we deal with the farmers market, which we'll know on next Wednesday, when we talk to the state. But we're thinking right now that this money, this $4,750, may have to be used for postage, because the vouchers, the applications and vouchers have to be mailed instead of the way we used to do it. But right now, we're not certain of that until we have our meeting next week with the state. Now, number 18 is extra money that we receive from the state, emergency money for our Meals on Wheels program and also our congregate sites, which had to close. So since our congregate sites had to close, we have taken that list and we are actually delivering meals to those same clients, customers, if you will, so that they don't miss out on the congregate meals. And the state was kind enough to give us this extra $653,421 for our 3 agencies that provide meals, which would be Focus, JCC, and Krill.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
Yes, Mr. Brown, on resolution 16, there was a schedule that was in the documentation that indicated that the 100% of the projected budget for all of these expenditures was $6,995,321, of which that resolution 18, 653,421 is part of, as well as the $5,026,348, which is really involved with resolution number 16. Is there still money due? Because when I subtract those two amounts, resolution 16's amount, resolutions 18's amount out, as well as the county match of 154,000, I'm still looking for like $1,315,000. Are there additional monies that are included in the 100% projected budget that the county is going to receive in the future?
Yes, this, if you look on I believe in the resolution, it states that this is only approximately 50% or 28% rather of our award information, our awardee that we will receive from the state. This is not 100%.
Okay, and I've understand that these are different amounts too. When reading the resolution, it's 50%, I think of the federal, 100% of the state, and 27% of something else, I don't recall. So it's
Right, now that,
a little different funding coming in.
right, that 653,000 is actually, we put it in our total, but that is extra money that the state has given us in an emergency act. Because we said that we would have to change we didn't want to lose out on the elderly that were coming to our congregate meals. So they awarded each county a certain amount of money, and that was our amount, the 653,000.
That was as a direct result of a response to the COVID-19 virus?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something else that I think the freeholders, what we'll do is we'll, keep track of that as well as funds from the state in terms of their response to COVID-19.
Correct.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Nothing to add to that.
Freeholders, questions or comments? We have a motion from Freeholder Luciano and a second from Freeholder Primaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel. Freeholder Siebel, you're on mute.
Yes. Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Primaris.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado is absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder